I think it's safe to say that change is on my agenda. Change for good. And I embrace that and I enjoy that change. I don't fear it.
William expected a private family conversation. He did not expect his mother's name to change the entire atmosphere in the room. When Charles Spencer finally revealed the last wish Diana had entrusted to him concerning Catherine, William stopped speaking altogether. It was not about jewels, titles, estates, or ceremony. It was something far more intimate and far more devastating. Diana had left her eldest son a warning wrapped inside a wish, and suddenly the past felt dangerously close. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Charles Spencer asked William to meet at Althorp, the Spencer family estate where Diana is buried, because a confidence could no longer remain hidden. The Earl of Spencer, an inherited British noble title passed through the family, had kept the matter outside palace channels. No advisors intervened. He spoke as Diana's brother, and William listened as her son. Spencer opened a documented private account, written from memory, after one of his final conversations with Diana. Then he placed an old handwritten note beside William, without pushing it toward him. Diana's final wish, he said, was that Catherine must never be left isolated, emotionally unsupported, or sacrificed to royal duty in the way she believed she herself had been. She wanted William to protect his wife and the mother of his children before expecting her to carry every burden demanded of a future queen. William stared at the note, then back at his uncle. He said nothing. The words pulled him toward memories he had spent years learning to contain. Diana alone, Diana hurting, Diana trying to shield her sons from pain they could already sense. Spencer watched his nephew struggle and made one thing unmistakable. His sister had never feared that Catherine would fail the monarchy. She feared the monarchy might demand so much that the woman William loved could disappear beneath the role. Then Spencer revealed the line that changed the weight of everything. Diana had written about the woman who might one day stand beside William, describing someone strong enough to share his duty, but human enough to need protection from it. Catherine had not yet entered his life, yet the warning felt written for her. William finally broke his silence. "Why are you telling me now?" Spencer's expression tightened. He had waited because Diana never wanted the message turned into royal mythology. She wanted her son to hear it only when its meaning could no longer be ignored. And that meant the revelation was never truly about the past. It was about Catherine and the terrifying possibility that history had already begun repeating itself. For years, comparisons between Catherine and Diana had followed almost every milestone: marriage, motherhood, public duty, even silence. But Spencer's revelation suddenly changed the meaning of those comparisons. Diana had not wanted another woman to imitate her. She wanted the opposite. She wanted William's future wife to have something she believed she herself had lost: emotional security behind palace doors. And now William was forced to ask whether Catherine had truly been given it. William returned from Althorp carrying more than a family secret. The Prince of Wales, the title traditionally given to the heir to the British throne, had spent most of his life understanding what public pressure could do behind closed doors. Catherine had entered that same world, knowing every gesture could be judged, every silence interpreted, every difficult moment magnified. Their marriage had always carried one quiet promise beneath the ceremony: their family would not become another battlefield. Catherine knew something was wrong before he explained anything. William sat beside her, unusually still, choosing words and then abandoning them. She watched him for several seconds before asking the question he had hoped to delay. Was it about Diana? He looked at her, and that hesitation gave her the answer before his voice did. Catherine did not press him. She waited until he was ready. William finally repeated what Charles Spencer had told him through the documented private account preserved from his conversations with Diana. Spencer was not speaking as a palace representative or royal advisor. He was speaking as her brother, which made the message far more personal. Diana had feared that the woman beside her son might one day be expected to endure too much, simply because duty demanded silence. Catherine absorbed the words carefully. She was moved, but also unsettled. She did not want to become a symbol, built from another woman's suffering, even Diana's. More importantly, she could see what the revelation was doing to William. He admitted that hearing his mother's wish felt almost like receiving instructions decades too late. as though he had suddenly been handed another chance to correct something he could never change. Catherine refused to let him carry that weight alone. She told him he could not spend his life trying to repair every wound Diana had endured. William listened, but Spencer's deeper message remained impossible to ignore. His mother had not imagined Catherine as a replacement. She had imagined the future wife beside him as protection against one of her greatest fears, that her son might someday be forced to choose between defending the crown and defending his family. William understood the challenge immediately. Love would not be enough. Being different from the past might one day require him to resist expectations everyone else considered untouchable. And Spencer had already told him where that fear began, with one private night Diana never forgot, and one conversation that changed everything. The wish had not emerged from some abstract fear of royal life. According to Spencer, it began with one unforgettable conversation. Years before Diana's death, after a particularly bruising period of public pressure, she contacted her brother late at night and spoke with unusual certainty about William's future. She was no longer discussing herself. She was thinking about the boy who would one day become king and the unknown woman who might someday discover just how lonely life beside the throne could become. Diana called Charles Spencer after a tense family gathering at Sandringham, the private royal estate traditionally used by the monarch and close family for holidays and major gatherings. Her voice was controlled at first, but that control did not last. She told her brother that she had never felt more alone than she had that evening, even while sitting in rooms filled with relatives, staff, and ceremony. Spencer listened as she described the strange cruelty of being surrounded by people and still feeling completely unseen. Diana then mentioned William. He had noticed her distress before leaving the room. The young prince had lingered near her for a moment, watching her face as if he understood far more than she wanted him to understand. That memory frightened her. She told Spencer that her sons were learning too early that pain should be hidden, managed quietly, and carried without asking anyone to intervene. William, she feared, might grow into a man who believed protecting everyone else meant never admitting when his own family needed help. Spencer tried to reassure her. He told his sister that William's future did not have to resemble hers, that the boy would grow older, make his own choices, and create a different kind of home. Diana rejected the comfort almost immediately. Families could change, she said, but institutions had habits. If people did not deliberately break those habits, the same wounds could return under different names. Diana paused before saying the words Spencer would never forget. If William ever married, his wife must never be made to feel that asking for protection was an act of disloyalty. She wanted the woman beside him to know that needing support did not mean failing the crown, the family, or the man she loved. Spencer realized the conversation had changed. This was no longer his sister simply describing a painful evening. Diana asked him to remember her words, even if she was not there when William finally needed to hear them. Spencer later wrote the essence of that call into a private family account and kept it outside royal custody. For years, William knew nothing about it. Now he knew everything. And when he realized how long his uncle had carried those words in silence, grief hardened into something far more dangerous: anger. William's silence finally broke, and the first emotion that surfaced was not sorrow, it was anger. If Diana had trusted Spencer with something meant for her eldest son, why had he allowed decades to pass? Why reveal it only after Catherine had already endured years of royal pressure? The question transformed an emotional confession into a confrontation. Suddenly, two men who had loved Diana in very different ways were facing each other across the same unresolved wound. William pressed Charles Spencer on the timing. The prince could not stop thinking about the earlier years of his marriage, when Catherine had still been learning how to survive relentless scrutiny while raising a young family under royal expectations. He believed Diana's warning might have mattered most then, when every decision felt exposed and every mistake carried consequences. Spencer answered carefully. His sister had never given him a date, a formal instruction, or a royal directive, a binding order issued through official authority. She had trusted his judgment, and that trust had become its own burden. William stood and walked away from the table. He needed distance before he spoke again. Spencer stayed where he was, watching his nephew wrestle with grief that had suddenly found a target. Then William turned back. "What gave you the right to decide when I was ready to hear my own mother's words?" The question landed hard because there was no easy answer. Spencer did not defend himself immediately. He simply admitted that he might have waited too long. Spencer refused to apologize for one thing. He had protected Diana's confidence from becoming palace property, public spectacle, or another weapon in endless arguments about her legacy. He told William that revealing the message too early could have turned Catherine into a symbol before she had even found her own place within the family. The future king heard the reasoning, but the anger remained. Then Spencer told him what carrying the secret had actually cost. He had watched Catherine face intense pressure over the years, while wondering whether Diana's feared threshold had already been crossed. Each time William stepped forward to defend his family, Spencer had asked himself whether that was the moment his sister had predicted. One recent decision changed everything. Spencer had watched William put his family before an expectation others considered untouchable. That was when silence became more dangerous than disclosure. Then came the second revelation. Diana had not merely wanted William to protect Catherine. She wanted the woman beside him to be able to tell a future king no, without fearing what disagreement might cost her place in the family. William's anger faded, because suddenly this was no longer about protection alone. It was about power, and the one voice beside the future throne that Diana believed must never be silenced. Diana's final wish was beginning to reveal its true shape. She had not imagined Catherine as a fragile figure hidden behind William for protection. She imagined something more difficult for the monarchy to accommodate. A wife strong enough to challenge the future king privately, and a husband secure enough to listen. For William, this distinction was enormous. Diana was not asking him to shield Catherine from responsibility. She was asking him to protect her independence inside the most rigid family in Britain. William understood that royal hierarchy could decide who walked first, who spoke first, and who carried greater formal rank. Precedence, the official order determining where members of the royal family stand in ceremonial importance, could shape public life, but it could not control private trust. Catherine's real influence came from something no rulebook could grant: the fact that William chose to hear her when no advisor, counsel, or constitutional process required him to do so. Spencer had explained that Diana feared agreement almost as much as open hostility. She believed isolation became most dangerous when everyone around a senior royal learned to nod, obey, and avoid difficult truths. His sister wanted William's marriage to contain one relationship untouched by ceremonial obedience. She wanted someone beside him who could challenge him before the crown became louder than the people he loved. Catherine listened as William repeated that part of the message. She did not interrupt him, but when he finished, her answer was firm. She would not allow herself to become Diana's symbolic successor simply because the connection carried emotional power. William flinched at first. For a moment he heard resistance where Catherine intended honesty. Catherine corrected him gently. Honoring Diana did not mean turning another woman into an extension of her memory. It meant understanding what had hurt her and refusing to rebuild the same conditions around somebody else. She told William she would stand beside him through duty, pressure, and scrutiny, but she also needed the freedom to disagree with him without making that disagreement feel like betrayal. William recognized the truth immediately. It was almost exactly the relationship Spencer had described. Diana's wish was not simply for her son to become protective. It was for Catherine to remain secure even when she refused him. That was why Spencer had called it a wish for Catherine, not merely a message for William. Diana wanted the future princess to possess a kind of security that did not depend on constant compliance. And if William accepted that principle fully, it would change more than their marriage. Workload, family boundaries, public duty, and private decisions would all face the same test. The crown could not automatically come before the emotional survival of the people carrying it. The first test arrived sooner than anyone expected. William made one decision concerning Catherine, and senior palace figures immediately understood that something had changed. There was no proclamation. No dramatic palace statement announced that Diana's wish had changed anything. The evidence came through one decision. When William was presented with a demanding stretch of commitments affecting Catherine and their family, he did something deceptively simple. He refused to treat the schedule as untouchable. To outsiders, it looked administrative. To those who understood what Spencer had just revealed, it was the first unmistakable sign that William had taken his mother's warning personally. William reviewed the briefing folder in silence. The royal household, the staff and advisors who organize official duties for senior members of the family, had prepared weeks of engagements around public expectation, continuity, and timing. Catherine's responsibilities were woven through the schedule, as if every commitment carried equal weight. Under the old logic, disruption created questions, and questions created pressure. But William could no longer look at those pages without hearing Diana's warning beneath them. William closed the folder and set his pen down. The aide across from him immediately sensed that the conversation had changed. Several commitments would be moved, the prince said. Others would be reconsidered entirely. When the aide cautiously asked whether Catherine had requested the changes, he answered without hesitation. No, this decision is mine. The words were calm, but their meaning was larger than one timetable. William had just rejected the idea that royal expectations were automatically untouchable. William remained alone after the aide left. The certainty he had shown seconds earlier disappeared. He understood what he had done. Only hours after hearing Spencer's documented account of Diana's wish, he had allowed that message to influence an actual decision. For the first time, his mother's words were no longer simply part of family history. They had entered the present. Catherine challenged him when she learned what had happened. She appreciated what he was trying to protect, but she refused to let protection become another form of control. William could not defend her right to speak while making major decisions without asking what she wanted. Catherine made the contradiction impossible to ignore. William admitted it. His instinct had been to shield her from pressure, but Spencer's message demanded something harder. Diana had wanted Catherine's independence protected, not merely her comfort. That meant William had to listen even when her choice differed from the one he believed was safest. Catherine and William reached a new understanding. Decisions affecting her workload, family life, and public responsibilities would be made with her, never simply for her. Love could guide William, but it could not silence the person he was trying to protect. And that realization stripped away everything else. For the first time since Spencer revealed the secret, William had to face Catherine not as an heir fulfilling Diana's final wish, but simply as a husband afraid of repeating his mother's pain. The turning point did not happen before courtiers or family elders. It came when William and Catherine were alone, with nobody available to turn emotion into protocol. Diana's wish had forced the prince to look backward for most of the day. Catherine now forced him to look forward. When she asked what he was actually afraid would happen to her, William stopped speaking as an heir to the throne. For once, he answered simply as Diana's son. William admitted that much of his instinct to protect Catherine had been formed long before he met her. He had watched his parents' marriage collapse under public pressure, seen Diana become overwhelmed, and learned far too young that royal status could not protect a family from private pain. The heir to the throne, the person next in line to become monarch, could carry enormous public importance and still feel powerless inside his own home. William had never forgotten that contradiction. Catherine understood more than he expected. She told him those memories explained why he sometimes reacted so quickly when pressure moved toward their family. But she also warned him that their marriage could not be governed by a tragedy that happened before they ever met. Diana's experience could guide them, she said, but it could not become a script they were forced to repeat. William finally said the fear he had been avoiding. He was terrified that duty would consume so much of him that one day he would fail to notice Catherine struggling beside him. The words came slowly, stripped of rank and responsibility. Catherine did not answer immediately. She reached for his hand and let the silence settle, before telling him what she feared in return. Catherine said the greater danger was not that William would ignore her. It was that he might assume she needed rescuing every time life became difficult. Protection without listening could become another kind of loneliness. She needed him to ask before deciding what strength, support, or retreat should look like. William understood. Diana's wish was not an instruction to save Catherine from royal life. It was an instruction never to make her feel alone inside their partnership. Catherine then admitted that Spencer's documented revelation had given her something unexpected. She did not feel trapped beneath Diana's memory. She felt released from the idea that silent suffering was somehow part of royal service. She could speak. She could refuse. She could say when something had become too much. William finally voiced the thought that had left him speechless since Althorp. His mother had worried about the well-being of a woman she would never live to meet. That realization no longer felt only painful. It felt like a gift, but their private peace would not remain private for long. News of Spencer's revelation was beginning to spread, and soon the entire country would decide what Diana's final wish meant. Once the meaning of Diana's wish became known, the story escaped the boundaries of family memory. It touched a nerve Britain had never entirely lost. For some, it was a mother reaching across decades to protect her son's marriage. For others, it reopened painful questions about how the monarchy treats those who marry into it. But amid the broadcasts, headlines, and argument, one public moment captured the emotion more powerfully than any commentary could. Broadcasters treated Charles Spencer's documented account differently from the usual royal dispute. This was not about inheritance, rank, or precedence, the formal order that determines where members of the royal family stand in ceremonial importance. It was about a private message linking Diana, William, and Catherine across 2 generations. That emotional connection mattered because the public had spent years comparing the 2 women. Now the comparison was no longer about appearance or symbolism. It was about what one woman had suffered and what another might be spared. William resisted any attempt to turn the message into official policy. Catherine agreed. Royal officials kept their response restrained because both understood the danger of transforming Diana's private pain into a formal declaration. The wish belonged to the family before it belonged to the institution. William wanted that boundary protected, and Catherine refused to let public sympathy decide what her role should become. Then one newspaper front page changed the mood. A London edition appeared with photographs of Diana and Catherine, separated by decades beneath the headline, "Her Wish for William's Wife." Commuters near Victoria Station stopped at a kiosk to read it. Some took pictures, others simply stared. Within hours, that single front page became the image most closely associated with Spencer's revelation. Spencer saw it and felt immediate unease. He had protected his sister's words for years, because Diana never intended her vulnerability to become a public commodity. Now her private fear was everywhere. He wondered whether speaking had preserved the meaning or exposed something she had trusted him to keep sacred. William felt something more complicated. The attention disturbed him, but there was relief too. For once, Diana and Catherine were not being connected through dresses, gestures, or endless comparisons. The discussion had shifted toward emotional survival. Catherine made her position clear privately. She would not present herself as the fulfillment of Diana's final wish. She had never known her, and she would not claim an intimacy that did not exist. That restraint gave the message its final power. Diana's legacy was no longer only what she left behind. It was what her family had learned from what hurt her. And with the country still debating those words, William returned to Spencer one last time, this time with an answer. William could never answer Diana directly. That was the cruelty beneath every part of the revelation. He could not tell his mother that he understood her fear, ask what she meant, or reassure her that the future had unfolded differently. But he could decide what to do with the words she left behind. And when William met Spencer again, his response finally transformed Diana's wish from a painful warning about the past into a promise about the family he intended to protect. William returned to Charles Spencer without the anger that had defined their earlier confrontation. The prince no longer saw Diana's message as an instruction arriving decades too late. He saw it as something entrusted across time. Spencer, who had carried the documented account for years, asked his nephew what he intended to do with it now. This time, William did not hesitate. William left the handwritten note where it rested. He told his uncle that the words belonged to Diana, but the decisions now belonged to him and Catherine. That distinction mattered. The future king understood that honoring his mother could not mean allowing the past to govern every choice he made. Diana's warning had value because it offered wisdom, not control. Spencer felt the weight of that answer immediately. For years, he had feared speaking too soon and feared waiting too long. He had acted as the custodian of Diana's unfinished instruction, preserving something deeply personal while wondering whether silence itself had become a mistake. William's acceptance finally released him from that responsibility. Spencer had delivered the message. His part was over. Catherine reached her own conclusion just as firmly. She would not become Diana's replacement, her symbol, or her living memorial. The gift inside the wish was something quieter and stronger, permission to remain herself in a role capable of swallowing identity. William understood that protecting Catherine did not mean protecting her from every hardship. It meant ensuring she never endured those hardships emotionally alone. William finally understood why the revelation had left him speechless. Diana had not simply imagined his future. She had imagined the woman he might one day love. And she had identified the mistake she most desperately wanted him never to repeat, allowing duty to create loneliness inside a marriage. That became the final meaning of the wish. The crown could keep its traditions. Duty could remain demanding. Public pressure could continue. But private loyalty did not have to be sacrificed to royal appearances. Diana could never witness the marriage, the children, or the future William and Catherine would build. Yet through one final wish preserved by Spencer, she left her son a warning born from pain and the chance to turn that pain into something different. For William, the past finally stopped haunting the present. It began teaching it. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.